Hello, and welcome to a VO's Journey podcast. My name is Anthony Pica. This show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all the crazy things that I seem to step in, or, as they say, sit on, since I'm still in my truck. Anyways, hi, welcome to the podcast. It's good to see you guys. I'm seeing you through my podcast. I'm visualizing you. That just goes to show you how crazy I am right now because my house is still not done, and it looks like it's going to be another 7 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. Right now, we're just trying to get the inspector to come because the county we're in, the inspector, I guess they had a couple inspectors quit, and now they've got one inspector for the county. And we're not in a small county. Like one inspector, building inspector for the whole county seems really like sketch, right? But anyways, we're waiting for this this inspector to come and inspect the plumbing, the electric, framing. Then we got to get insulation. So anyways, we're still a ways out. But, I was thinking of what's really interesting about this whole time period has been what is happening now with my business, and what I'm seeing with other people's businesses. And I got to thinking, what is it that I did, or, what would I do? I guess the real right thing to say, what would I do if I started again? Knowing what I know now, you know what I mean? Started my business again in 2022. What would I do differently or do in 2022 if I was just starting a voiceover business? So I thought it'd be pretty cool to talk about that in today's episode and, fill you in, of course, on what's happening with my truck. All right. Anyways, let's do it.
This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica.
All right, so it is wonderful as always to be doing a podcast. It's one of my favorite things to do. And it comes at a really, crazy time because I think we all, work really hard at something, like building a business, and worked really hard at building my voiceover business and, building this and then, when we're this transition to a bigger studio or just more of a we bought some land and renovating the house and everything. It wasn't supposed to take this long, so it was supposed to be we're supposed to be living in there now, but we're really having some delays. Snow, we're in the east. The snow really hit hard. That delayed inspections of just getting the we've had issues. This county's had issues with their inspectors, so. It's just been kind of tough. There was a couple of the crews had, COVID here and there. So it's just, it's taken longer than it's expected. But, I'm still very excited about the future. And there are things happening. It's slowly but surely moving on. But anyways, I wanted to talk about today because with all this stuff going on and with me being, in someone else's house and using my truck as my studio, it really makes me think about the things that it took me to build a business to where, and let's be honest, where it's actually possible to do voiceover in a truck. I mean, yes, I was making fun of it because, I've had a studio and everything, but the reality is that this is pretty incredible that I'm able to do what I do, run an entire business out of my truck. And I find it amazing. And, but that led me to the question about, what would I do? What would I, if I was starting over again today, what would I do? How would I go about, crafting my voiceover business? Would I get started on Fiverr? Would I build my own website first? Would I pour money into a studio? Would I, try to get an agent? What would I do knowing what I know now? And, I think hands down, no matter what I did, the very first thing I would do now is whether I had to beg, borrow, or steal, I would get enough money to get the right equipment. Now, I want to preface this by saying, again, this is knowing what I know now. When I first started, I didn't know anything. So I went and bought a $40 microphone. I got my hobo for it. And let's be honest, all of that journey led me to where I am today and being able to do all of this stuff today. But knowing what I know now, like, for example, being in my truck, I mean, this is really made possible because of the type of microphone I have, the setup I have, the ability of my interface, the equipment. And, even though I've got three main pieces of equipment right now, which is my Sennheiser 416, so that's like $1,000 mic, my MacBook Pro laptop, this is $2,500 laptop, and then my Apollo Twin interface, which is another $800 to $1,000. So, I mean, we're talking, $4 or $5,000 here, and then the cords, right? But like, if I was using other equipment, it would not sound as good, and I would not be able to do what I'm doing here, or anywhere is at the level at which I can do now. And when I first started, I didn't understand that. You know what I mean? So much of it was now. Again, I preface that with saying when I started, I didn't have that money. So I started where I had to start. And if you're in that situation, just start where you have to start. I mean, I wouldn't recommend getting a $40 microphone, but, you definitely, if you have a couple $100, get a couple $100, okay, and get a good microphone and stuff. But I think that that's something that I, would definitely do differently, is getting the right equipment, spending the money I needed to spend, up front on equipment, so that I would have a really great quality sound, so that would not be an issue. And because I know that this equipment works so well together, you know what I mean? That would be, something I would do. I use Adobe Audition, okay? And I use Isotope. So like, Isotope and RX9. And so, I mean, like, I would get that. And again, now that's another, they run specials. So it can be between $200 to $400, but that is worth it. Those are the plugins that do like declick and, multi-click, mount to noise. They even do, they've got reverb. They've got a bunch of good plugins, but that multi-click is a lifesaver. When I first started, I would spend hours upon hours removing mouth clicks because I didn't even know what, a multi-clicker was. So, these are things that I would definitely do to start first, is get the right equipment. Then I would either, now I would have to say that for me, when it comes to my studio, space is really, like, to me, space is important now. I think like when I first started, I had my Hobo Ford. Even with my Hobo Ford, I built it to be 4x6. I took PVC pipe. I had a little saw. I cut it up. And I had the little connector elbows, and I made it and used packing blankets, right? But I still made it 4x6. Even though it still felt cramped with that because I'm in this blanket fort. But like, space is so important. Even though a lot of us do, and again, you do the best you can with what you have to start. So like closets are great things, but again, I would really get that set up in my studio. It is, now, is that as important as I'm sitting here in my truck? No, it's not that important as long as you have a good space to be. But I can tell you though, that the space, like this whole, it's not just how good you sound, but it's also a mental thing as well. Right. It's a mental game that I found too. And I found that I was so much more productive and professional. I felt more professional. None of that's silly about how you feel, but I think it comes across in the way your actions kind of follow suit. Anyways, but the point is, no matter what my space, how big or small it was, I would definitely make sure it was treated the right way. Now, I have to tell you, recently I've been quite infatuated with anechoic chambers and the idea of using the style in which they put together, with foam wedges and so forth, and the idea of the dissipating, where the foam really does. It absorbs the high frequencies, and the low frequencies, right? They bounce, and as they go through the foam wedges, right, they dissipate into nothing. So it is kind of one of those things where I'm really intrigued by that right now too. But, I would definitely, not spend money on small foam. The thicker the better. I mean, no matter what. And also the placement of your foam is very important. So all these things, like, I would definitely just get myself set up with the right equipment, the right space, right from the get-go, spend the money I needed to spend, or try to save the money. If I didn't have the money, right, I would, still use blankets, pillows, and everything like I did, because they work very well. But, I would definitely try to, like I said, beg, borrow, and steal to get the right equipment. Now, when it came to setting up the marketing of the business, I would definitely, from the get-go, get myself on TikTok and these places, like especially TikTok, Instagram, but TikTok mainly, and to get and to get a little show, a minute or less show started, to where I start publishing content and getting myself out there for people to know who I am, see me, listen to me, really get myself in a position to where I'm building some sort of awareness of who I am. It's very difficult, to build awareness for who you are when you're not putting any content out there. And unless I was going now, if I had money, so I guess I should have prefaced this whole thing, right? If I didn't have money or I had money, right? So I guess you would say, like, if I had to start again and I had money, the answer to that question would be, I'd be running ads. I wouldn't even wasting time. I'd be running ads. Literally running ads, driving people to where I wanted them to go. And if I had that money, I would build a website, drive ads, build out my demos, and drive ads, and just drive people straight to my site, which is what I'm working on now. But the thing is that the other side of that is, if you don't have money, which is where I came from, is not having really any money to pay for any of this stuff. I had to make enough money by doing it, the other ways, in order to get to this place to where I have money now to do it this way. So if you don't have money, by far, the best thing to do, hands down, is still getting on Fiverr. Getting on Fiverr, getting on Upwork, Voquint, ACX, People Per Hour. Those sites are still hand down the best to get on. There's many other sites, but those are some of the best to get on to start. And then, of course, if you're going to spend money, Voice 123. But the reality is that you got to put a lot of work into those platforms after you spend the money on them, like Voice 123. Now, don't get me wrong, you got to put work into Fiverr, but Fiverr itself, at this point, still is one of the most lucrative websites for voice actors out there. All right. Now, they have now, I think, 30,000 gigs. And I do want to say that 30,000 gigs does not mean 30,000 voice actors, right? It just means there are 30,000 offerings. But whether there are 30,000 voice actors or not, those still gigs take up a page, right? So, like, it still takes up a space. So if each page holds 40 gigs, which it does, or 40, offerings, 40 gigs, then, do the math on that. Right? I mean, what, 100 pages would be 4,000. So you're talking, that's a lot of pages, right? For 30,000 gigs. What is that? 200, 400 would be 64, 500 pages. There's no one's going to, so it's definitely getting more difficult, but it's still by far the most lucrative place to be. And the people that I work with and I help on a daily basis and that are part of a VO's Journey Elite Academy, we have many people who are making between, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to $10,000 a month on Fiverr. And, we have a thing in our group where we post earnings. So people get, it's not, we're not pretending. It's really happening. There's some people who make more than that a month, and there's a lot of people who make less than that a month. And that's just from that one platform. But that's the best place to be to start, because it costs you no money to start there. Okay. Now you pay a fee of 20%, just like you would an agent. Now, I think the thing to me is, would I ever get with an agent? knowing what I know now? And I think the answer is, now this is me personally. The answer is no. I would not. In all fairness, again, I've not worked with an agent. I've never used one. So for me to say that, I would not work with an agent, and, it's coming from a place where I've done everything I've done without needing one. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying an agent couldn't help me help me make more than a couple $100,000 a year in voiceover, but maybe they could, or maybe they couldn't. I don't know, but I don't feel like I need that representation, nor do I need a headache of dealing with, not being able to do what I want to do because I'm Now, that's not all agents. There's incredible agents out there who are just there to help, and they're trying to make a living too, and they're doing the best they can, and they want to help you do the best you can. The better you do, the better they do, et cetera, and they don't care. They could care less if you're on Fiverr. All right. And that's fine too. But there's some out there who are not like that. So it really boils down to, on this particular case, when it comes to agents, what you're interested in. But me personally, I just never needed an agent, and I've seen an entire world and worked with, hundreds and thousands of voice actors who don't need agents. We don't need it anymore, the way we used to. So, that's just kind of, and in all fairness, it's like online agents now, right? The websites, if you're an agent, you're listening to this, I think the best thing that you could do, honestly, the best thing that you could do is take your business and really be a conduit, a helper, a pass-through for voice actors, and to help them be able to get their own business. I think that agents, and agencies that don't change are going to continue to struggle, right? If they could start working on helping voice actors to become, their own, like helping them get their own business, you're still going to want to work with a person who does that, which is what we're doing at the Academy, right? But I think a lot of agents, hopefully will hear this, but I'm not sure that that's really what they're used to in a business model. But anyways, for me, again, I think I would definitely be doing those two things. If I had the money, I would be paying people to write content for my blog all the time. I would be, posting content. I'd be doing the shows on TikTok. I'd be building that. I'd be running ads, sending that traffic to my website. I'd be doing all that stuff. So, that's kind of one of those things where I really feel strongly about. And, it's important to think about how you would go about doing that. Sorry, I'm literally in my truck, and as I'm sitting here, they let the dog out. We have this dog. We have a dog, is a King Cavalier, and he just loves to run. And as soon as he runs literally from the wherever my wife is, he runs straight to her. No matter, she could be like a mile away, and he just runs straight to her no matter what. He is like my wife's dog. He loves her to death. So I was watching this dog while I'm in the car recording, running from one side of the property we're on to the other side, because my wife's over at the barn on the other property where we're staying. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to what we were talking about. I hope this gives you a good, kind of a good feel about where you'd start, and I wanna finish it up by saying, this is one thing that I would have, okay, so I'm going to say this. If you don't do any of that stuff I mentioned that I just said that I would do, and the only one thing you do from here, is work with a coach, get with, and I'm not trying to do a shameless plug for the Academy, but get with get with the Elite Academy, look at a place like Edge Studio, look at a place like Gravy for the Brain. Look for coaches. You want to find people, but this is important. You want to find people who are doing or know how to do and are teaching what you want to do, right? And work with them, because I promise you it will take years off of your journey. And those years are worth a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, you have to, you've got to be able to pay for the training. But I'm saying that I would have, when I first started, I was like, I don't need that. I did it all. And it took me, I think back about and it became like this badge of honor I wore, right? Like how many hours I had work a night, and I've fallen asleep at work, and I get, and yes, now it makes a really great story. But looking back on it, there would be it would be probably like a cold day in hell before I would do all that over again, knowing what I know now, right? Like if I didn't know, like if I only knew one thing that I should get a coach, that would be like, and because they would help me be able to, like I always say, sidestep a lot of this crap. Like, for example, the craziest piece of knowledge I could have gotten from someone was someone could have shared to me, Anthony, why are you doing hours and hours of this editing? Pony up, save for a month or so, and buy the stinking isotope RX, and it will change your life. You'll take off half, way more than half of the hours you're spending on editing. Like if I wouldn't, just these little things like that can change your life and help you go so much faster, down your path, your VO journey path. I would have really benefited a lot from that. And I think as much training as I've done and the thousands of voice actors I've helped now has really helped me a lot too, because I've learned so much from listening to what voice actors were going through and the challenges that they were running into and the same things that I ran into. You know what I mean? I have to admit, on a side note, from a coaching standpoint, I'm very happy I went through that stuff, because I can talk to people about it. I can say, look, I know exactly what you went through. I went through the same thing. I remember doing XYZ. This is probably what you're going through. And they're like, yeah, it's exactly what I'm going, because I went through it. But if you're not trying to, learn that, you don't need to go through that hell, right? You can skip all that, whether you work with me or you work with someone else. But I would say this: if you want to represent yourself, or you want to be in control of what you're doing, you want to work with someone like me. Right? If you're trying to get some, agents from LA and New York, I'd still love you to work with me, but I'm probably not the guy, or our academy is not the right academy if you're trying to land agents from New York or LA. And there's nothing wrong. That doesn't mean you can't learn a lot, because we do a lot of voice acting training. We do a lot of tech. But, when it comes to the marketing aspect, I guess that's kind of a crappy thing to say. Because people are like, well, you said it. I mean, like, from the marketing side of what we coach, which is one class. So, in all fairness, everything else works. But the marketing side, I show you, or we show you how to do it yourself. You know what I mean? But I don't get tons of agents. I've not had any. So, like, coming to me, asking me how to get agents, I can tell you what I've heard other people say. But, so what I'm trying to get at here is, do some research first. Figure out, are they doing what you want to do? Are they, like, if you want to work on platforms, are they experts on the platforms? If you want to work with a lot of agents, are they experts with agents? Or what I do, and what I would recommend too, is work with multiple coaches. You don't have to work with just one. Get be a part of multiple groups if you can, because you're going to learn something here. You're going to learn something over there. But in the end, like I said, if I knew what I know now and I had to start over again, I would definitely do everything I laid out in this podcast today. And I would for certain work with a coach, get with a group, join the academy, something to where I got information that helped me speed up my journey, so I wasn't just bumbling and falling through. All right, you guys, I hope this podcast has been helpful today. Please take a moment to head over to VO's Journey Elite Academy. Check that out if you're interested. It's absolutely incredible group. We've got about 200 members. We've got 6 coaches now. We coach live sessions every single week. And like I said in the podcast, our whole goal, and the reason why I started it, is because I wanted to be able for people to represent themselves, grow their own business, and be able to, really change their lives, leave their jobs if they wanted to, build a side income, and be able to do that on their own. So check it out. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I will talk to you soon. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.